Thank you from my heart for being here tonight. Unlike perhaps the other presenters, I'm going to break code and do something I've never done before. Unrehearsed, unmemorized, a story that I'll likely never tell again. But if you could share with me in this, I would call it not a sad story, it's more a tale of sepio-erotic adventure. And it's got some kind of sensual, conscious dreamscape to it. It's vulnerable, but I warn you, it's not vulnerable in the sense that something's gone wrong. Okay? Please bear that in heart. Heart's a very important part of the body. It's more orgasmic, I should say, in that it's a soul's release from some kind of subconscious place that I'm unaware of. Point 2, I don't know that I have a message. Even though I've been a Buddhist monk for some years and I was thrown out of the country of Burma many times, I've often aspired that the only teachings to follow was your fingerprint. No two of us will do it alike. And so although I've been on stages for the better part of 30 years, I made a vow when I first got there never to do the same show twice. Unrehearsed, uncensored, natural, raw, improvisational, and inarticulate. So if you can suffer with me in that space, I'm willing to be naked in your presence. From my heart to yours, thank you for being here. 3 months ago, I was on the island of Maui. I was in hospice as a terminal heart disease. Obviously, it has not gone away. I had been there for some months. I was diagnosed 2 years before in Los Angeles with a severely enlarged, I can barely pronounce it, aortic aneurysm. And as the cardiac surgeon at the head of UCLA told me, Mr. Clements, you are a miracle walking, that you're not dead. If you're not on this surgery table within 24 hours, the likelihood of you dying is 95%. 2 years ago. I'm not a miracle. I'm insane. My family has disavowed, you are fucking in denial, like no one has ever imagined denial being manifested in this world. Why aren't you getting 10 hours of surgery with 10 doctors around that table on 3 hours of life support so you can continue to live in this ambient nightmare? Well, I'm lucky you're not. I'm going to die soon. That's not a message that you should be sharing in Ubud with breath workers. Pause. Reel yourself back in, Mr. Clements. You can't be saying this publicly. I'm just letting you hear how I talk to myself. I'm insane. I'm mad. 3 months ago, I was on so many drugs. 2 syringes of morphine every day. You know what that does to you? Really fantastic. I started way too late. Hospice, they're the best Colombian coke cartel in the world. I was on Ambien sleeping pills, Xanax, clonazepam, Valium, and still the anguish was overwhelming from not having enough to quiet the existential anxiety that I picked up in a monastery in Burma, meditating, watching my breath so much. This is like the Buddha's first noble truth coming real, the truth of suffering, right? What's new, Mr. Clements? Everyone's going to die, but we don't know when. And so what did I do? I went to Hawaii. Why did I even go there? One of the only states in America. I'm never going to tell the story again, whether I stay alive or die. I went there to take my life. It's one of the only states in America where they allow you, if you pass a very rigorous set of tests, to be granted the pharmaceutical substances to mindfully euthanize. Okay? I passed with flying colors. You're terminal. No one in Hawaii can take care of you should this thing rupture. No one can help you in Bali. You will die. You will die an anguished death, Mr. Clements. Why are you getting on the plane to go to Ubud? Why are you doing that, you fucking idiot? Here, you should take all this morphine with you. Should you die mid-flight, don't get on that flight. Don't get on that flight. Don't get on that flight. Guess what? Where am I? Fuck you, God. Don't believe anything from the pharmaceutical industries. Don't believe anything from big medical. I don't want to get too political here. However, you're going to die just like me. I'm going to go before you. Maybe. We don't know that. So I was on Maui doing all these pharmaceutical drugs, and I hate, you can't say that. You love drugs. I like ketamine. I got a script for ketamine, for God's sake. You know how hard that is to get? It is amazing. I was low-dosing psilocybin, LSD. I was in bliss as I was dying. How come you're not like grieving the loss of everyone? So I really had to drop in and like become conventional. Like there's got to be something you've got to do here. You got to take care of your will. Anyone done their will? It sucks. Giving all away your sacred money, all your cryptocurrency, all your cash, all your book contracts, all that shit's got to give someone. Did it. 5 wishes. The hardest thing in the world is saying goodbye. This is so hard to get out. It's so hard to say goodbye to someone you love. I dared not look at me. Just look at the people in your life, in your heart right now that you love. You've got to say goodbye to them every fucking minute of your life. I had to say goodbye to my daughter. You know how hard that was? How many times can you tell someone you love them? You've got to hold them. You've got to touch them when you have a full breath to do it, right? What about being in the moment? Don't postpone anything, Mr. Clements. Do what you have to do. Do it so well that you've lived out front, way out front of mortality. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait. So I did all the things that one needed to do. I wrote a book called Facing Death. You want to read about my journey? Read it. I wrote a book dedicated to my daughter. Tonight I met an angel, a deva of love. His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote a foreword to it. I did everything I had to do. I even fell in love with someone back when I had dengue fever and pneumonia, and I had COVID, extreme COVID, and I couldn't breathe, and someone brought me back to life. She gave me the goddess DNA. If she wasn't solo polyamorous, I would have married her. Mr. Non-attachment, no problem. You cannot be in relationship with someone who does not want to be in relationship with, right? Hard lesson. I would have lived if there had been a reason to live. I did everything you need to do. If there's a message in that, what is left undone? Really, that's so cliched to say that. Who have you not told everything you feel in your heart tonight? Why wait? Why wait? Why wait? So I thought to myself, what's left undone? I love stages because you can be naked there. You can be as irreverent as you want, although I've toned it way down tonight. I've got Tourette syndrome. You would not stand it if I told the truth. But I did a show on Maui called Spiritually Incorrect. I've done 250 of them. I did one at Paradiso 4 years ago. Everyone hates me from it. And I did it called Dead Man Walking. Freedom Never Dies. It's the last thing I wanted to do before I died. Why? I wanted to use my voice. You know, back in the day when I was in Burma, I did a book of conversations, you may have read it, with the imprisoned Nobel Peace Laureate in there, named Aung San Suu Kyi. A radical, amazing human being. One day, just like Colleen brought together all of us here, 400 of the world's leading activists in Burma came out to celebrate what? Freedom. Soldiers surrounded Aung San Suu Kyi's compound. At the end of the day, on a makeshift stage, a man came out with a mustache. His name was U Parley. It was Robin Williams of Burma. He was the ultimate spoken word artist. And everyone knew that he had been imprisoned for 6 years for satirizing Big Brother. You might know that George Orwell lived in Burma, right? The seeds of 1984 were born in Burma. And Burma has a long history of radical disobedience to male, patriarchal, toxic authority. And so U Parley came out, and he told the audience of 400 people, for 6 years, I've been waiting for this moment to perform. Pause. Just chill for a minute. How many of you are in the moment, right? He's saying, fuck the moment. I'm thinking about the moment that I want to be in, right? That's a very interesting shift of consciousness from being present to the present future that you really imagine you wanting to live. Navigating moments into that future. That's a very interesting insight for me. So for 6 years, I've been pounding rocks with arm irons and leg irons, waiting for the day to perform again. It blew my mind when my translator told me what he had said. And then he looked at the audience and he said to the audience, I'll never forget it. It's on film, by the way. I have it on film. He said, I know what I'm about to say will land me in prison. Think of that. Think of the stakes of saying something so radically authentic and real that it's right in the core of your being. You're speaking up for freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Imagine right now, all of a sudden, the Gestapo is around this particular place, and all of us are going to go off to a labor camp for 6 years for basically listening to this woman's vision of freedom. That's high stakes, right? So much of the world lives under totalitarian dictatorship, and it might come to Ubud. Don't get too political. Tone it down. And guess what happened? He said, freedom is more important than fear. Think of that line. And guess what? For 60 minutes, he dazzled the audience. They got up and started to dance. They were so in celebration of this man's victory over tyranny that they got up and they cried. They wept. They got down on their knees and prayed to the Lord Goddess of totality. May freedom reign so bright in this universe that there's no way to diminish freedom of expression, freedom of thought, freedom of conscience. I saw this, I have it on tape, and it blew my heart wide open. Well, at the end of that performance, guess what happened? 6 more years pounding rocks with leg irons and arm irons. And it gave me a reason to believe in something larger than my own fucking self-wisdom, of freedom beyond my own needs, of healing and trauma. And no preaching, Ellen, drop it. You're in Ubud. People don't like you as it is. You'll really lose even the one client you've got left. Fuck you. Drop the story of healing. Live like a flower. You don't examine the darkness between petals, do you, to open it? Really? Just like that? Just like that. Be the light. Be the nutrients. Be the soil, right? Don't overcome the darkness. Light the fucking candle. Don't get hustled by yoni massages. Sorry. I'm almost done. And I decided that after the show on Maui, just 3 months and 3 weeks ago, that I would take my life. I didn't tell anyone. I told them fucking a year before that I was going to do it on a certain date, and I canceled 4 surgeries. Nothing could keep me alive. I already had my trajectory to Tusita with the next Buddha Maitreya. I navigated it on psychedelics and mushrooms and psilocybin and meditation and yoga and affirmation. I was all ready to go to a new destination to enlighten myself in a new environment beyond the beauty of Ubud and Bali and Maui and the world and my children and my goddesses. And at the show, at the end, I lit a candle, had all the drugs. I was given that mindful rebirthing elixir, I called it. And there it was, just 3 months and 3 weeks ago. And I just mindfully, like we did as a monk and nun, just reached forward and looked at it. And I said, why? Why? Is there a reason to stay alive? I ask you. It's obvious, we're alive. It's not a life and death issue for most people. But for me, it was like, what's left? Is there anything left? You've done it all. And I thought to my mother, who died at 96, Alan, she grabbed my hands like this. She couldn't even, so much arthritis. Alan, don't ask to love, love. Hold hands, make contact. I've interviewed 500 political prisoners who've been in solitary confinement between 10 and 21 years. Know what they tell you on how they survive the hardest times in prison? A memory of love. Think of that. I had one fellow tell me, who was the general of the army, who spent 19 years in solitary. How do you get through the hardest times, sir? I bring memories of love from the past and let them fill my body and the sensations in the present. And it's the warmth of that memory of love that gets you through the darkest times. I wish you could just look around at the people right now in your life. Imagine you being as a prisoner of conscience, and you're drawing upon that memory right here and now, tonight, to get you through the darkest times. You know, maybe this is the light. Maybe this is a challenging moment. Maybe this is the peak of our existence. Who knows what's going to happen? And I thought of this, and I said, you know, my friend Bob, who was the producer of Rocky, I wrote a book in his house last year called Extinction X-Rated. I'm off to Canggu to film it. Don't read it. It's kinky, it's erotic, it's sensual, it's anti-spiritual. It's the truth of what I felt at that time in my life. Bob used to tell me, he said, I'll never fucking give up no matter what life throws you. Never give up. Winning is an interior battle. It's not outside. Deeply interior. I thought about living for my daughter. She's coming to Bali. She just talked to me yesterday and said, Dad, I want to come to Bali to be with you. Pretty cool. Reasons to live on, right? Although I'm in extraordinary pain, you don't feel the pain physically and emotionally, what it means to be at the existential edge of a guillotine. 98% chance of dying any second now, the cardiac doctors tell you. Colleen knows to cremate my body should I die tonight. There's no medical support for anything. And I'm thinking, why live? I thought about the people in my life that I really care about. Is there anything left to produce? Any books? Nothing. Except the integrity, Alan, of the personal challenge of what you've devoted your existence to, which is the Dharma, the Dhamma, the awakening of consciousness, overcoming fear, greed, shame, delusion, the radiance of the beautification of mind. Live a life of beauty regardless of the challenges that you face. Just live in the integrity of being reverential wherever you walk and talk. Doesn't matter. Unconditional freedom to be beautiful. The hardest thing in this world to do. The Balinese do it so amazingly well, some of them. A lot of them, right? Amazing to just make that our vocation, Alan. And so what did I do? I'll end tonight with a beginning. I made a vow that night to take morphine Xanax, Valium, clonazepam, Ambien, all the various other drugs that I have, and throw them away. I trashed them, got on a flight the next day to Tokyo, to Denpasar, to Ubud, where I am now never going to address the issue of dying anymore, because I'm not dying. I've overcome the issue of thinking that I'm dying. I am living in a rebirthing arc through this magnificent, maddening fucking miracle of existence. I have no need to think of dying. Dying is way overrated as a motivation to be a better person. I can tell you that from direct experience. Drop the need to think that you're dying. Embrace the beauty of what a full breath affords you to do, to be what? Love, live, create, touch, be touched, kiss, hold, embrace, create. The last thing I'll leave, we're all destined for discontinuity. It's obviously inbuilt into the DNA of this strange, weird universe. I don't know about you. I'm at two with this universe. I want nothing to do with oneness. I don't want to be one with Xi Jinping. I don't want to be one with Putin. I don't want to be one with a centipede. I don't want to be one with these motherfuckers. I want to be at two with things I don't like. And that means empowering a future that gets rid of this fucking toxic, patriarchal fucking nonsense, capitalistic, pig-oriented nonsense, and fucking snap out of the coma of, no offense, it's just me talking to snap out of the coma of self-healing self over and over ad nauseum. Fucking just die. Get over your fucking trauma. Drop your wound, dude. You're a healthy, vibrant guy. Do something fantastic with your mind and body. Don't do a training. Do living, right? And the last thing I want to make a point of, I've lived well. I've written a lot of books, a lot of films, but it's the unborn that I care about. Bobby's here. She saved my life. Ray in Vancouver. She saved my life. Someone saved your life with an intervention, with their mind, their friends, their naturopathic wisdom. We chose a sperm donor together. I implanted sperm in this woman's sacred yoni. This baby's going to be born soon. We're in a birth process, not an overcoming of flaw process. We're flowers opening to beauty. That's my only message for myself. Let the petals fall when they fall and keep allowing the naturalness of your fragrance. Air doesn't need permission to receive you. Fragrance is natural to beauty. So from my heart to yours, thank you for being here tonight, bearing witness. Thank you, Colleen, for being a part of this and inviting me to be uncensored, unmemorized, and natural. And so I hope to meet you again. And if not, catch you on the other side. Thank you.